morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Kerfuffle Spotlight, and I am delighted today to have Rory and Grant on from Dataloft. Gentlemen, look at you resplendent in your pink hat. You've won me over already. You well?
Very well, thank you, Simon. You?
Yeah, ticking over, enjoying it all. Nice week of shows, and never better than finishing the week as well with somebody who you've teed me up, you've got me excited. Data is a game changer. You
we put ourselves under pressure with that title, haven't we?
You have. If you don't deliver now, then right. Yeah, it's going to be disappointing. Okay, guys, we're going to talk about. Let's just kick straight off then and take us in there. We'll deal with the subject line a little bit later. For those people though that don't know about Dataloft, could you just give us an overview, a quick overview of yourselves and obviously where you came from?
Yeah, shall I do that, Grant?
Yeah, go for it, Roy.
Yeah. So we started our story about 10 years ago, and we started it by a group of market analysts from Savills breaking away. The big boys up in London and setting up Dataloft. And back in those days, it was Savills and Knight Frank who were really the only brands out there who were using data, using property market data, or using insights from data to help build their brand. And fast forward 10 years, and Savills has got a team of 25 analysts, and they've built their whole brand around this concept of they're the undisputed experts in the market. They know their stuff. They're very sophisticated and intelligent brand. And so they've built their brand kind of around showing that they know their stuff. So we took that concept and we took it outside of London, and we worked with lots of London clients, and we allowed anyone around England, Wales, in fact, around the UK, and we've worked around the world, who wanted to demonstrate, sort of build their brand by demonstrating that they know the market inside out, to be able to do that. And so we started really kind of niche. So we had worked with very luxury kind of Mayfair brands in London who were up against Knight Frank, or Frank Knight, as Grant likes to call them. We were going up in pitches against the likes of Knight Frank and Savills. We helped them prepare to go in and to demonstrate that they knew as much about the market as those guys did. And so it grew around that kind of luxury market in London, and then it spread out further and further, and we worked with clients around England and Wales. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, we developed another product called Dataloft Inform, which we're kind of focusing on today, which was really based on the idea that not everyone has a huge budget to spend on a beautiful publication about the market. But we had so many people over the years going, "Oh, I've seen what you do for Weatherall or for Winkworth or for Charters or whatever. Can we have a bit of that?" And they didn't have the budget, so we decided to create Inform, which is basically a very affordable online platform, which is just full of content and market insights, right down to postcode sector and right out to national level. And it's up to date. They can get everything they need in seconds. And it basically allows them to be their own little Savills or Knight Frank, but for a fraction of the price, and actually and develop that own brand profile in their town, wherever they are, as being regarded as these guys really know their stuff. I trust them. I want to do business with them. So we've evolved really. So we've got Inform. We've still got our old bit of the business, the core bit, which we call Consult, which is working with big developers and estate agents and government think tanks and various things. And then we've also developed a really unique rental data set. We call that side of the business Dataloft Rental Market Analytics. Where we work with lots of build-to-rent experts or big lettings teams in big agency groups, etc. So that's a bit of a pot. So in essence, what do? We take huge amounts of data, we turn them into singular findings and insights, and then what we're quite famous for, as you can see behind me, is turning data really into a bit of an art form. We create graphics, we create stories from it, and make it very visual.
That's the real talent, isn't it? You've got. I mean, obviously, data. I won't say it's meaningless, but for the vast majority of people, if you can't express that in the right way, then it's it's the problem with estate agents having all the knowledge up here. You can be as knowledgeable as here, but if you can't get that out to the consumer themselves, then you're never going to make that much of an impact, are you?
No,
yeah,
I think
you help agents all the time to. I mean, it's an absolute minefield, data, isn't it? Because like in the early days, we had a lot of clients who they loved their spreadsheets and used to download big sets of data from the land reg, and then they tried to make sense of it and tried to turn it into something they could pass on to their clients. But it's dangerous in the wrong hands. You need a team of analysts looking at it, and then if you don't package it up in a creative way, then it kind of falls flat when you put it out. But Grant, you chat about how the agents use the content all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And with what Simon said there, I think visual is so important now, isn't it? Especially across social media. I think people, when they're scrolling down social media, visual, you've got to catch people's eye, and that's the beauty of what we do. I think that the ability to take a story and turn it into a visual. And it's great. I see some really creative ways with it on social media. Some of our subscribers. So, yeah, it is great. Visual is key.
And that, so you do things like widgets, don't you, on some clients' websites and things like that. So as you said, it's always there. It's available for people to do it, but it reinforces their own sort of efficacy in the marketplace, doesn't it? With what's going on, and that obviously is crucial, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that whole concept about data. Why is data a game changer? It's like everything has evolved. It's more than ever, the public are so informed. They're so on the ball. They've just had about 4 months of watching the news endlessly and trolling through websites.
Yeah.
You can't pull the wool over their eyes anymore. And actually, as an agent, if you can be the one that doesn't necessarily sell to them, but you gain business from them by sharing information and relevant information with them about the market to help them make decisions, then you're going to steal a march on everyone else, because they know what's going on. And if you can be the agent that actually shares things with them that they want to receive, that's informative, that's insightful, that's intelligent, your brand and your perception of your brand in the marketplace is only going to go up and up and up. You find
they're not just better informed, though, are they? Because there is a danger. Some of them have taken that data and have misunderstood it as well, haven't they? And if they listen to the tabloids, for example, or bad news sources, they can get a completely different picture from a global property, let's say, price increases or price drops, and they're not putting that on a micro scale, which is obviously is the most vital thing of all when you're looking at property, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Grant.
Oh no, I was going to say you're absolutely right. I think some people, I speak to lots of agents that as soon as they get overwhelmed by it to a degree. And I think that's the beauty of what we do. We break it down so simply and put it into a nice visual that it's just so easy to use it and inform your audience and your town about what's going on in the market. So yeah, no, I do think people can get overwhelmed with it, but in terms of data,
I think there's just noise everywhere. There's so much noise, and there's so many. I know what's going on in the market. I know what's going on in the market, or what you need to. I mean, it's a bit like Kerfuffle. I'm stealing your strap line there, Simon, but it is about.
We stole it from someone else anyway. Don't worry.
I wonder where you got that idea from. Funnily enough, Dataloft also focuses really on cutting through the noise.
Yeah.
And actually, what people that work with us, they have the benefit of working with an independent, unbiased voice in the market.
Yeah.
So there's no agenda to the data and the insights that we create. Our subscribers, our clients, they tell it as it is. And what they put out in a market report or a flyer or a letter or on social media, they're reporting on what's actually happening in the market with no bias at all.
Because otherwise, why go to an agent, in all honesty, is there? You know, if they aren't the experts, if they aren't demonstrably giving it honestly, it's not always about just telling them what they want to hear there, is there? The reason that, you know, was it famously, what is it, 50% of people don't end up going with the estate agent they originally listed with? You know, all of these horrific stats that you hear out there are because people haven't been honest to a large degree to start off with. And what I love about it is it's what you do. It is advertising, and with advertising, as we know, it's consistency. But it's so obvious. It's so not a hard sell, is it? It's delivering value. It's delivering what the person actually wants. And I know, you know, we were talking to the great guys over at a Macaboon the other day when they talk about the market. As long as you keep that data hyper relevant in the way that you guys do, then you are not going to see the level of unsubscribes that people just ramming it down. You know, we've won this award or we've got this percentage market share, and that's the key, surely, for what you guys really the value you add to many agents.
Yeah, definitely. And what you said there, Simon, actually about the, you know, it's not just about market share. It's, you know, I think that's the big shift, isn't it? I think, you know, I've been in and around the property world for about 20 years. And, you know, I guess the marketing messages have evolved. You know, it was about, you know, maybe 5-6 years ago, it was you know, look at us, look at our experience. That still plays a part. But I think people want to be educated now and want reassurance of what's happening in their town, because everyone's interested, aren't they? I think I think people are interested in three things. They have an affection for friends and family, their biggest asset, which is their home, and the town they live in. If you can talk about those three things, you know, maybe talking about friends and family would be a bit weird, but property and town.
A new angle.
Absolutely. But I think, you know, everything in terms of a marketing strategy, there's lots of things that make that up. But I think, you know, what we've seen from our subscribers is, you know, they take people on a journey of what's happened in their town. And yeah, it seems to work with lots of our subscribers, which is great.
Brendan's here agreeing with you exactly what Rory said. Really powerful, can be super localized. I do love that localization. You know, hyper local might sound like a marketeer's thing, but it's just totally relevant, isn't it? And if you aren't delivering on the hyper local, because let's face it, people only care about the few streets around theirs, but this is the important factor, isn't it? They care about that implicitly.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of there's some brilliant suppliers out there and brilliant products. But what a lot of people struggle to get hold of is what content can I use that people will actually care about, you know, and the only thing they care about is what can you give me that actually helps me, because I don't really care about your business.
No.
The fact that I'm not going to say that we don't care about the fact you've won awards and all that sort of stuff. You know, that should be part of your marketing mix, and that's really important for an agent. But the bottom line is like, yeah, I don't really care about your awards, but you sent me a report the other day, which was a really interesting overview of the market, and I'd like to talk to you about that. Or we have some subscribers just incredible, and they'll take a market report out to evaluation, or they'll sit down with their iPad with Inform in front of them, and they'll say, well, let's look at the market, and you can see that, you know, prices are actually pretty flat at the moment. You know, the transaction numbers have fallen away. You know, the other properties that are similar to yours that are sold recently, perhaps, you know, maybe didn't sell for quite as high price as you thought you might have got. So therefore, we're going to price your property at this. And so they've built up a price and evaluation based on evidence and based on telling a story about what's happening in the market. And that's, I mean, how professional is that?
Yeah.
You know,
I think
on the extra mile.
The other thing about professionalism as well, Rory, there is that, of course, I'm talking to many of your clients. Obviously, I know there. And look, yours was a great service in a normal market, but in this post-lockdown world as well, where you can't leave the glossy brochures and everything else there, and it really is being able to deliver these messages digitally. It's ever more vital, or rather, it carries ever more value to be able to do so, doesn't it?
Yeah, and just on absolutely, I think that we noticed that I guess in March, we had a lot of we saw a lot of agents stay very on social media, were there. I guess that was their shop window at the time, and we've also noticed that now that social media is key, staying present across the channels, and all of our content can be used digitally, which is what we've seen. Even the flyers that we design for print, I've seen some brilliant posts about this is our market update for this week in LA 41 or LA 15 postcode sector, and it just looks to the audience, just to get that regular monthly market update, even if it's social media digitally, creates some.
I think it's in the early days. Sorry, Sam, I was just gonna. In the early days when we launched Inform, like all our clients up to that date were sold on the concept of, yes, I totally believe that I need to share my market knowledge to get more business. But then in the early days of Inform, some very few people, but some people might have said, oh yeah, having Dataloft Inform is probably a bit of a luxury. We have not heard having Dataloft Inform as a bit of a luxury for probably 2 years now. And since lockdown, I think it's flipped around completely, and everyone's bought into that. They need to have a product like this, because if they're not informing people about what's going on in the market,
everyone else is.
Then they're falling miles behind all the people that are. So that's been really great. I mean, you've felt a real uptick in Grant when you're chatting to agents all the time about, I really must have this. I've seen what you're doing for other people, and that's been really heartwarming for us at Dataloft. It's really the concept of having access to market insight has really become vital rather than a luxury.
And definitely, and I think that everyone knows it's very difficult to come up with content consistently and regularly, to take the time to think of trying to come up with content. And now maybe agencies have got people on furlough, marketing people still on furlough. It's mightily important, and I guess the brilliant thing about Inform is that.
Hopefully, is he doing a dramatic pause there, Rory?
I don't know. It's a Shakespearean moment coming up.
I don't know. I mean, what we are seeing there is what he's saying, though, isn't it? Is being content and being a content king is not easy by definition, is it? And so what you've got is, if you've invested in systems like, great systems like Brief Your Market or ActivePipe or MailChimp there, you've got the mechanism for delivery. But what do you ultimately end up saying and sending them there? So to have this, this content pool of relevant stuff is going to be a godsend. Hello, Grant. You all right? I think he's froze. He's froze again.
I don't know where you start with content. Otherwise, I mean, I got an email from Peter Knight, who obviously both work with, and it was kind of about it. The title was just blah 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 blah, and a lot of the content that goes out there is just blah blah blah, but it's sort of meaningless. It's not relevant. It's not personal, or it doesn't appeal to people because it's not about them.
Yeah,
it's about me as a company. And so but it's incredibly difficult for an agent who's so busy, and often our clients, the director is doing the director's job and the marketing job, and he's doing a bit of sales viewings and lettings viewings. So to try and get hold of content that's not blah blah blah, and that really your audience is going to go, oh, that's really interesting. Absolutely impossible. So that was the idea behind Inform. We'll arm you with absolutely tons of it, and the ones that are that use it really proactively are putting stuff out every day. So
How do you reconcile if you have agents that are working, that are ostensibly competitors? Do you have any kind of Chinese wall mechanism? Because you can't you can't put out all the same stuff, can you?
Oh, it's a good point. And I guess that's one of the biggest questions I get in relation to a sort of exclusivity in a town. And what we try to do is we'll always cap it in a town. We wouldn't want every agent in a high street having it, because it will dilute that. I guess, and we talk about marginal gains just being slightly different to your competitor. So what we would do is, we would do that. I mean, I guess the big thing is there's so much content in there that we've never actually had a time. I can't.
Oh, God. I know what he was about to say.
He was about to say, wasn't he, that he's never had a time where it's come up with the same.
So all of the reports. So we've got like 5 market reports. We've got a range of 6 flyers. We've got prospecting letters. So they're all branded. So for starters, they've all got the client's particular brand colors and stuff. They're all editable, so they can edit the text on them as well. And then like Grant was saying, there's thousands of bits of content. So yes, we might get a few people that send out the same infographic on social media, for example. Yeah. But at the end of the day, what most agents do is take Rightmove stuff out or use Rightmove stats, and that's like 90% of the market.
Totally homogenous, isn't it? Out where people there.
And we only we work with, I don't know, sort of 5% of the market.
Yeah.
So and that's across England and Wales. So it's very unlikely you're going to get an issue of.
I can't remember. I can't remember it. I can't remember that, to be honest. But very, very rarely happens. But what you do find, if it's with the infographics, what we try and chat to agents about is personalising them. The message that you put out on social media. The infographic is like a framework to start a discussion. It's the thing that catches someone's eye, and then you're doing a personalised message on it that's related. How does that infographic relate to you and your branch? And that's the difference, I guess. It's just a conversation starter, the infographic. It's to grab.
It's not the be all and the end all, is it? You can still put your character around that and personalize that in whichever way you want, isn't it? But at least it gives you that most important thing to stop you, I suppose, if we take the analogy, stop you having the writer's block, isn't it? Jesus, what am I sending out now? Well, we've got the perfect excuse for whatever the stand we want to go with.
Just a market report, for example, is like creating a 2-page report yourself as an agent. Yeah. God, it would take you weeks. So what you can do is it's all in place. You don't have to do editing or any work at all. You could literally just download it in seconds. But if you do want to edit it, you can. And you could even say, there's been 100 sales in Derby in the last month. But we've actually sold 50% of them, or the average price in Derby is 220,000. We're selling on average for 250,000. So there's little bits of editing you could do to add your own personal stamp to it. But it's worth its weight in gold, to saving all the time of kind of building it each month.
Yeah, you mentioned there that you kind of provide it with them so that they're ready to send on social. What does that mean in essence? Does that mean you are sort of the images are optimized for sending on social, or are they just PDFs? How are you actually teeing that up so that they are able to be dispatched digitally?
So what we do, like with the infographics are published weekly. So we do 2 a week, one at the beginning and one at the end of the week. And the infographic, we actually publish the first one as a GIF. So it's interactive. It will catch someone's eye if you're scrolling down social media.
Now, you don't have to tell me about the powers of GIFs.
I know you love it. You love it. I've seen some of your GIFs on Twitter. But we know that Instagram and Facebook don't accept GIFs. It's just a still. So what we also do is publish that infographic in a JPEG. So on our system, it's just download it, save it onto your computer like you would a normal picture, and then ping it out across your social media channels. And it's so easy to
How many of your clients do you know work with actually sort of scheduling this out over the course of a week or indeed a month? Do they sit down with tools like Hootsuite and Buffer and literally say that's going to go on that date, so that they've given themselves a framework of content and then they can supplement that with ad hoc stories as they go? Or are they doing it more, or literally are they doing it more ad hoc? What's the trend for most of your clients?
I think that funny enough, I spoke to someone yesterday that uses Hootsuite and arranges our content to go out via Hootsuite. I think most of them do it themselves. And what we've just launched actually is a WhatsApp text alert service. So as anything changes, like a new infographic launches, if you're a member of this broadcast group, we will send it out as a reminder. What I try and talk to agents about is just diarising it. Have it at the beginning of it. It's going to come out at the end of the day, on a Tuesday, and the end of by Friday we'll have the editor's pick out. So yeah, and do you know what, Simon? I guess that's the whole importance of what we see sometimes is agents, will post ad hoc. It's about being disciplined. It's about, sticking to that plan, sticking to that roadmap that you had, that, you can't just ad hoc post, for the best results. I guess it's about consistency, discipline, every single week, putting out some relevant content out to your market. And
we've put together a daily plan. So there's actually, you can print it out and have it in front of you. And what we suggest is like you mix it up. So you do a bit of, this is what the big trends in the market are. That might be an infographic. And then, like, to me, the really valuable posts are where you go, did you know that, I don't know, values have gone up by 20% in the last 10 years in your area? Would you like a valuation from us today to find out how much your house is worth? Click through the valuation tool. And then suddenly, so you've captured their attention, and then you've got a call to action. And then you get the conversation going. And that's so important. Like, again, like, even though our content is really relevant and fantastic, they've got to make it work for them. So they've got to put a little bit extra effort into the post, which is good.
Yeah, that's great. So really there, what you're talking about is getting a collaborative approach with a few of the prop tech providers there. So whether, as you said, that's driving them through to a Valpal, obviously, valuation style tool that can obviously then put them into the top of the funnel, or indeed go into, I don't know, a sort of, the digital agent functionality that a Reapit would have and other CRMs have, whereby they can go in and then just book the valuation to get that there. That seamless approach where they haven't got too many hoops to go through is really, again, where you can fit in, but you're always at the top of just driving that flow.
Yeah, and we're trying to make it easier and easier for them to use content. So we've got lots of partnerships and integrations about to start, which we can go through in a sec. But like, for example, we always recommend use the content because people will be interested in it, and then always have a call to action. So we've got we call it a widget where you can pull through live, really nicely designed local insights straight from Inform through to your website. And we've found that heard back from clients that if they've got the insights on a page and then they've got their free valuation tool at the bottom of that, they've had way more people requesting a valuation from that page than any other, because they know what's going on in the market. They've seen some of the stats. Yeah. They've been like, well, these guys are really professional. That's interesting. Yes, I'll get a valuation. And that's like, Matt, we love that. That when it all comes together like that, that's perfect.
And also, just on that widget, what we see, it's really important because, we can see the stats of how many people hit pull the widget data. And we've seen some staggering results, certainly since June, since the state agency and the property world got back to normal. Back to normal.
70% in May, there was a 70% rise in the number of people visiting those local insight pages on our subscribers' website. Yes. And that's really powerful, because they're back and they're engaged. But the fact that they've gone on to an agent's website means they're probably a step further in the process rather than everyone going on to Rightmove and Zoopla. And then the fact that they've read about local market conditions means I want to know what's going on because I'm genuine. So
quite right. This isn't about, sometimes you can see the portal traffic figures and it doesn't seem, you hear record traffic on there and it doesn't seem to tie in per se with what people's perceptions are of what the market's doing there. But when they're engaging on a local fashion with there, where you'd like to think the vendors were doing their research, what you are seeing now is that traffic bump is relating through to actual business. So you would have expected to be a far more sort of linear sort of match, wouldn't you, with what you're seeing
that
there?
would be a really strong lead for an agent, much stronger than, arguably stronger than maybe Rightmove, lead or whatever, a portal lead, because they're aware of that agent, they're already visiting that agent's website, they're checking out what's going on in the market, and they're booking a valuation. So there's different, and by the way, the other thing that we sort of do is, obviously there's free valuations everywhere. They're everywhere, and yes, they're really powerful lead bait. But what a lot of our subscribers do as well.
Are they really anymore?
But what we say is, why don't you mix it up? Why do you offer a free market report? Offer them something that they'll be really interested in receiving every month, and then you can stay in touch with them and get their email address.
And
that's not pushy.
That works really well, Rory. We've got a couple of subscribers that do that, and their sort of view is that the widget, it whets the appetite, if you like. They can see what house prices have done, and the market reports that they offer, which are our market reports, obviously give them a lot more information. And actually, so using it as a lead capture, I've heard some brilliant results where people have gone on and I guess now, to get anyone to leave their details on a website, any website, not just agency websites, you have to offer them something of value, something tangible.
They know now, don't they, Grant? I think genuinely, even going back a year, 18 months, they didn't know what was really going on. But these days, they know with those digital valuation tools and everything else, they know what the score is. And by the way, normally they're happy to, as long as they perceive that they are getting some value back in response, don't they? But you've got to work harder for it rather than just almost teasing it out of them.
Yeah, and going back to one of the why data is a game changer. Another important thing is, most of our statistics are based on prices that have been achieved or letting values that have been achieved. And actually, at the moment, reporting on asking prices, if one of the big portals, their reports are kind of based on asking prices. There's probably going to be a big gap between asking prices and achieved prices.
Yeah.
And there has been for a while, and it will get worse as we go through the autumn. So it's much better for an agent to report on data for prices that have been achieved.
Just on every level, isn't it there? And you've got Charlie Purdy, I see you might have just seen there. Good morning, gents. In my experience, our most viewed posts are always our local market view articles. And I'm very pride in that anyway. Well, as I knew would happen when we started talking about data, it's taken us half an hour of chit chat to get onto my second question, which look, you've already spoke about a lot of this, but to a large degree, is there any other angles why data is such a game changer?
Do you want me to go, Graham?
Yeah, go for it, Roy. Yeah.
Just to clarify, I wouldn't. The data is the key thing. Is what you do with the data. So for starters, turning data like we do, turning it into stories and trends and insights is what makes that data powerful.
Yeah.
But there's some the Property Academy obviously run a home movers survey every year.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
And one of the things, so I think it was 83% of customers ranked having good market knowledge as vital when choosing an agent. So consumers are going, I want to know that they really know their stuff. And there's knowing your stuff, and then there's being able to demonstrate that you know your stuff. And that's what we help them do. And I think, we see data filtering through to everything in life, don't we? Actually, data is a game changer. Came from I actually stole that from IBM. That's actually they sponsor the Australian Open tennis, so they run all the data behind that event. And what they do is, I mean, they bring all of the stats to life so that the coaches can take those statistics and they can give informed advice to their players on what they're doing right or wrong. And we've seen that across football and rugby and all sorts of stuff.
Well, Rory, look at, you know, the best football team in the country, Manchester City. They, you know,
you're cutting up again.
When Pep, you know, I remember Pep Guardiola being asked who's the most important team at Manchester City, and he says the data analysts that get the players in at the end and look at the data to improve performance. And I guess you can that can be relevant in anything.
It's about being able to make really good business decisions based on facts as well. You know, not only do people use the data from us for marketing purposes, but they also sit down, you know, often as a team and they understand what's going on in the market and they help them to do their valuations. And we see it every day, you know, those daily bulletins that Boris was doing and his team, you know, every decision during coronavirus is based on data and what's going on in the world. And yeah, so it's just part of life now.
How do you see what's the feedback your clients get from the public themselves? I'm guessing that they do feedback that obviously they find this stuff really useful, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I talk to, you know, a lot of our subscribers on a daily, weekly basis, and you know, I spoke to one. I've just done Michelle Gallagher actually did a Zoom testimonial that's on our website. And you know, some of the feedback we've had from like Michelle and other subscribers, you know, it's brilliant. People do enjoy it. It's, you know, what we do is part of that strategy, that marketing strategy that an agency would have. But as we said before, people love to know what's going on in their area.
We've had stories over the years of you know, people literally taking our market reports into an agent saying, "Oh, I got this. This is really interesting," and picking up instructions from it. And I think I really appreciate it. I mean, most of the I'm not criticizing, because again, it is so difficult when you're an agent and you're doing about 5 jobs, especially at the moment with less people. But you know, all of the door drops that I get from agents through the door, like they talk about, "Oh, we're the local expert."
Yeah.
But all that means is I've been in your local area for 27 years.
If you can't demonstrate, it's meaningless, isn't it?
No, there's no substance to that. That's just blah, blah, blah. Like Peter's not Peter's.
But what, you know, just on that feedback, we've had some really good feedback lately. Our market reports, what some agents are doing is pre-valuation. You know, they're going to see Mr. Smith on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, so they'll phone them up on the Friday and say, "Really excited about seeing you, you know, coming out and seeing you on Tuesday. Can you just check your inbox? I've just sent you a market update." One of our market updates reports that we produce every month. It's going to be the basis of what we talk about on Tuesday, and that's been very well received. And you know, again, it's a point of difference from the agents up the road that, you know, they might do that, but won't be Dataloft market report. It might be a Rightmove market report that, you know.
Your favorite phrase is marginal gains, isn't it? It's about how do you make a marginal gain that will give you, I know that's a bit cliche, but
no, I'm an absolute sucker for it. And I tell you what, we had it, you know, we were talking about it just yesterday. Again, it's, you know, marginal gains are what it's all about, isn't it? Because those are the achievable goals. Those are the ones you can take. You don't need to make too many of those for it to make. Adam Walker famously he used to talk about, you know, don't look at the doubling of the turnover as the metric. You know, you can get to that, but it's actually by increasing your market appraisal conversion rate or cutting your withdrawals, or, you know, by just a few percent. And those iterative changes are what leads to the big figures. And I think that's why it's always so compelling, isn't it?
Yeah, and what we also give people is the opportunity to stay in touch. And like, I know Josh Vegan always picks up at this point about like, think like a dentist. You know, how often do you leave what do you do when you leave a dentist? They book you in for your next appointment. What do you do when an agent, when your house has been sold by an agent or you've bought a house through them, you never hear from them again. And I mean, there's lots of agents that are really good at that. So apologies if I'm upsetting anyone. But if you've got the right kind of content, then it allows you to keep a conversation going and enter a long-term relationship with them. So an excuse to email them a report once a month saying, or an anniversary email or a door drop saying, oh, it's a year since you bought your house. Look what's happened in the market since then. You know, that
Josh has a very different experience. When I leave the dentist, I go to the cake shop. So, he has fitness. I come from the other angle.
You get for an appointment next week rather than in a year's time.
I just don't want to see them in the hazmat suits. It's frightening enough going in there anyway without them drilling, looking like serial killer.
Yeah, I was in there recently. It's not a great experience.
So how else are how else do the subscribers use your content? I mean, I'm guessing that's just so open-ended because it's about as creative as they can be themselves, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, there is some that are really creative the way they do things. We've got some that produce Fun Stat Friday. So we've got a local profile page on Inform that gives local amenities in, you know, right down to postcode sector. So how many homes have access to ultra fast broadband? So how many homes have access to an outstanding Ofsted primary school in that postcode sector? So, you know, I see some really creative posts like that. You know, when sometimes it isn't just about property, it's about demonstrating that you absolutely know the local area. So I see some brilliant creative posts with that. You know, we've got the flyers that I've seen digitally that are great for, market updates. We've talked about the reports, you know, the infographics. You know, I see agents that don't just use them on social media. They'll email them out. We had a rental one recently about going into Q4. There was a rental stat on it. And some of our agents just emailed that across to their landlords. Just as an email, quick attachment, pinged it out. And you know, again, when we're talking about visual, how important visual is, you know, just a quick email with an infographic attached, you know.
I mean, basically it's limitless. You can plug it right across your marketing channels. So we've got, you know, social media blogs, we're having local insights columns in local newspapers, you know, door drops, website content, valuations for internal team meetings. You know, it depends how much time you've got. And
is there a no-no, Rory? Is there a bad way to use data, or you know, can you error with it at all, or as long as you don't over-egg it, can it only be a positive thing?
I think you've got. I mean, we always say, you know, make sure you read through things, make sure you're comfortable with the figures. But no, not really. I mean, yeah. I mean, you don't want to say. Clearly, you don't want to say, did you know that prices have gone down 20% in the last year on a social media post? I mean, try to choose, certainly for social media, it helps if you put out a reassuring message, or you just share something about the market, whether it's a lifestyle trend or whatever. You know, 'cause we don't just report on data. I mean, at the moment we've reported on, you know, what sort of lifestyle changes that people had. And when we did a big consumer survey, for example, and you know, 30% of people said that what's changed in the house they want post lockdown is they want a bigger garden. You know,
that's fascinating. I mean, that's so topical. It's so relevant. It's reinforcing obviously what people are thinking about themselves, isn't it? I think that's really
and how are people now using their living rooms, and how, you know, everyone's working in their bedrooms, and you know, so we mix it up. We pull in lifestyle kind of interesting trends, and obviously, you know, right in the heat of that beginning of lockdown, it was also, you know, people were probably not too bothered about what's happening with house prices and stuff. It was more like, what can I do as an agent to stay in touch and keep the conversation going and let people know I'm still active. So we kind of we changed the tone of our content a bit more. But yeah, so I mean, as long as you double check the stats that you're putting out and the content you're putting out, and you're comfortable with it, and you feel like that fits with what you're seeing in the market, but you can't really go wrong with it.
And I have got to say, and I mean, I know I'm biased, not least because you're wearing the merch. but the way you do present it, sometimes actually even in some quite actually really reputable both company agents and indeed some of the broadsheets, it can be quite difficult to actually break down that data, even though they felt they've done it. The job you do, and this is definitely the if there's one skill I see for you in particular, it is to bring that to life in such a simplistic fashion. You can't go wrong with the way that you are portraying things. Otherwise, as you could say there, as we mentioned politicians earlier, otherwise you can see those politicians, can't you, that have really not got a, let's just say Priti Patel, because I just can't stand her. Priti Patel goes out there, he clearly hasn't got a grip of the statistics, and it just ends up being a disaster in terms of actually how you end up going off topic.
Well, it is hard. It's really hard, property market data. It's hard to understand it and to bring it to life. So we try to do it so that anyone, regardless of how much experience they've got with it, can use it. I mean, Grant and I are not analysts. We've got some incredible analysts, but we come from another angle. But I will go onto Inform to get myself up to date with what's going on.
Rory, are those analysts, are they fun to go out with at night, or?
Yeah. We haven't yet had a night out with them. We are trying, aren't we?
I don't know why. I'm probably being unfair, but I'm just imagining Dungeons and Dragons and these guys who get on.
No, they're not geeky. It's okay. They're all normal.
Simon, we'll invite you out on the next one.
Okay,
right?
That'll be a real meeting of minds there. We'll see.
Amazing.
We got Adam Graver. Hi, Adam. For me, it's that balance of data-driven insight and that lifestyle content that's really helped us at Hunters. The lifestyle ones do tend to go down best with consumers. That's really useful feedback. Thank you, Adam, for that. I mean, amazing brand using it in the right way there, it looks like as well. I suppose one of the things I'm keen to understand is obviously sales, I can see it's so much driven there. Have you really had to work on the letting side of things to make that? That obviously it's a different skill set, isn't it? Trying to nurture that side of things. Do you need separate analysts for that, or a different focus? How do you try to nurture that side of the business?
No, it's the same set of analysts. I mean, the challenge was the challenge that we had was there wasn't a really good lettings data set out there. There was no equivalent to the land reg. Yeah. But we decided to change that and create our own data set. So we work with several tenant referencing companies. So when someone does a tenant reference, they give lots of in-depth information about themselves and about the property. And we've taken that and we've got sort of 2.5-3 million lettings records now. And then once we've got the base of the data, and it's all based on rent paid transactions as well. So we've kind of got our land reg equivalent now. And once we had that, then we could go to town and analyze that data in the same way as we do sales data. So we have lots of lettings on the agents, don't we, Grant?
Yeah, and seeing more actually. You've had a few demos with lettings agent. And it is. So that I think that's the beauty. Our lettings data is actuals. It's not anticipated rent, it's confirmed rent. We get the sort of demographics of the area. So what does the average age of a tenant look like in that area? And so letting agents can target, the right, I guess, age group. So our lettings data, we're quite proud of that.
The biggest challenge there is how an agent takes our content and finds the landlords. That's the eternal challenge, isn't it?
Yeah,
landlords. Yeah. One of the
I'm absolutely certain you wouldn't be sat here telling everyone if you knew how to do it.
No, but I mean, but that's one of the exciting integrations we've got coming up, which is with Spectre.
Well, can we touch on that now? You mentioned a few of the other things. We've mentioned a few CRMs. We're obviously members of the ICG group, which is the whole point about getting people to work collaboratively. Obviously, our friends over at Spectre, obviously in terms of the data specialists alongside yourselves. So what's really exciting there is you've got two data powerhouses like your good selves working together. So do you want to talk us through that and any others you've got on?
Yeah, I mean, Spectre. Well, I'll talk through Spectre, shall I, Grant, and then you can
go for it.
Other ones. But it's a really nice combination because we've got all the content and they've got the ability, they've got the data for the people to send that content out to. And so we've actually worked out, so the systems are now integrated. You can log into Spectre very shortly, although it's all done. You'll be able to find the informed prospecting letters. We've got 3 sales letters and 1 lettings letter on the Spectre system. It'll pull through the stats for the area that the agent works in. It'll come through with their brand colors and all the rest of it. And so what they've got now is through Spectre is the ability to also offer their agents some kind of very hyper local, relevant, interesting information to send out in those letters too. So that's really nice, because one of our challenges is that, yes, we've got content left, right, and center, but how do we help those subscribers to get that content out and with as least effort as possible?
We've also got lined up integrations with printers, like industry printers, Ravensworth, etc. So again, it is about making it as easy as possible across, I guess, the channels they're going to use it. Prospecting letters, if they're going to do door drops, print, then making it as easy and integrating with these great companies. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, the print. I'll give a few Can I give a few shout outs to people that we're integrating with? I mean, so we're talking to people like Estate Apps, Spectre. From a print perspective, Besley & Cott, Ravensworth, and Precision, and they're really cool. Those print integrations, because what you can do is you can be really targeted with your marketing. Say, I want to send a flyer to this postcode sector in my town, and the stats on that flyer are going to be for that postcode sector. Yeah. So that's going to take door drops to another level, which is really exciting.
So that's a dynamic content piece. Then you're able to be really targeted. So rather than just a broad brushstrokes thing, it will actually do it to that degree. That's really impressive. Rory.
Yeah, I mean, like the onus is on. So you start your thought process. Right, I want to do a door drop with flyers. I wanted to use informed flyers because they're informative. They're different to any other flyers going out. I'm going to choose the area I want to target. Then I'm going to get the stats coming through informed for that area. And then those people are going to get something that's ultra relevant to them. So that's really nice. And again, it will cut out the work, because they'll only need to go into one place to do all of that. So that's really exciting.
You're giving me the prop tech tingles now. I don't want to start feeling awkward, but that's when I start feeling that's really good. That really is.
A couple more shout outs as well. So from a digital online perspective, we work with Starbury. We're having really good chats with Estate Apps. We're also have a really cool integration with Akaboom as well, and that works really well because so we can fit into various stages of the customer journey. So they've got like before evaluation, trying to impress an agent, and we can filter some stats into that. During the valuation, again, share some insights from Inform, and then when they stay in touch with their ongoing emails, we'll also pull through some stats automatically through Inform. So if you're
right data, right time, right place, that's what you're doing with all of these, isn't it? That's really, really impressive. Good. Have you got any more relatives to thank in your Oscars speech there, or is it?
We are talking to a few others. Oh, we're really going down on that, and it's not. It's all starting with how can we make it easier for people to use informed content. That was.
And yes, I mean, you had Alex on yesterday from Estate Apps. That's quite an exciting one, with working with them, because they've just done a couple of websites for couple of our subscribers, and it looks fabulous with a widget integrated. You've got the call to action with the market reports on it. So exciting stuff.
We will come up with some email marketing integrations as well. So we're chatting to Brief Your Market with ActivePipe, Force 24. So there's a lot going on.
Come on, let's do it. Let's agree. We'll come back on with a couple of those and talk about it on there. So, what advice would you give to agents in the months ahead? Then, what would you say to those is the best approach?
I mean, for me, I think it's a case. I'm just looking at Brendan's. For me,
it's 5 to 12.
I know, having an early lunch by the look of things. I would say, stay relevant, keep a presence on social media. Even if you don't have all of your staff back, I think it's so important to keep engaged and because others in your town will certainly be doing that. and stay relevant, I think is the key. Put content out.
Yeah, stick with it. I agree. I think you've got to keep that conversation. We keep saying keep the conversation going, but like there's obviously a lot of pent up demand and a lot of activity out there at the moment. It's not going to possibly stay at that level. Agents are going to have to work quite hard in the autumn, or harder, to get instructions, or possibly not. It's difficult to tell. So whatever you've done throughout this period, keep it going. So keep emailing out that content, keep your website up to date, keep pumping out those relevant social media posts.
Because that consistency over time will build the brand awareness and the confidence, and therefore the trust, won't it? So, as you said, hopefully what that will mean is you're not then competing with the right move, valuation lead that's come through with everybody else, and having to be super stellar in the appraisal itself because you haven't built up any confidence or trust with them. If you've got that groundwork, that background of goodwill behind you, you'd like to think you're at the top of the queue, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's like Grant, you wrote down, and we were talking about this. You said, "Win the hearts of sellers who haven't even thought about selling yet," and that, like, those messages.
I'm having that.
Well, I see it all the time. Chatting to agents, it's about the here and it's about getting properties on now. It's about appealing to those people that are going on the market now. Actually, it's thinking about the ones that might be going on in 5 or 6 months, 8 months. And
that's the battleground, Grant, isn't it? The very few are actually fighting. And actually, I don't want to say it's uncontended, but it's much more uncontended, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think it's about what Rory said, sticking with it. And it might have been Jerry Lyons I've seen say this, but he says content marketing, it's not a one night stand. It's it's a long-term relationship. You have to keep.
Unlike a night out with Jerry, which is a one night stand. But anyway,
really, that's another. Yeah, I'd quite like a night out. Yeah. It'd be interesting to have a night out with Jerry then.
If you want someone in the autumn, like in November, to instruct you need to start working on them now.
It's funny, isn't it? Changing that mindset. Still, we all know how this game is played. That it is, the time lag that is involved with everything else, and yet it still sounds surprising to people that you do need to be putting it in now for the business of next year and beyond.
Yeah.
Nice. Rory, you were self-deprecatingly brilliant about being Scottish and not wanting to be too generous the other day, and I shot that down. And you have absolutely delivered for our wonderful Kerfuffle members here, because you've come up with not really one deal but 2 deals, and they're the sort of deals that I absolutely love. So, am I right? Do you want to just give us an overview, or do you want me to kick off with it? Good stuff. Well, just if you sign up, do go and have a look at the guys, obviously, Dataloft on the Kerfuffle website. Always have a look there first, see what people are saying. The reviews, there's many of them. They are 5-star reviews. You've got people here from like Neil Durant from Langford Ray. Talks about you being relevant, reliable, and up-to-date content, very well presented and engaging. We're new to using the software, but know for certain it will play a key role in attracting new and repeat clients, both short-term and in the long run. Grant, you can do the old sort of being modest here now. Grant explained the service very well before we signed up and has provided training on how to best use the software. He's a valuable source of information on both the software itself and how to use the data in other areas of our business, saving lots of time and money. That's fantastic. But there's Ian Macbeth from Avocado. Dataloft is an amazing tool for estate agents. The info image combo, which is what we've been talking about all hour, works really well for modern day marketing. The weekly infographics are brilliant for social media. And if you do market updates, newsletters, Dataloft will save you hours of time. So look, I don't think that's, doesn't need me to do the hard sell there. But what I like on top of that is, if you sign up, show the I'm interested button on there, or email in, or just talk to the guys direct and mention Kerfuffle, you'll get your first month free, which is absolutely fantastic in a market like this. But actually, as well, even more excitingly, they're seeing the Kerfuffle membership as a collective now. So the more and more of us that will that sign up and tell your friends and everything about it, the more the price will drop with everybody. And I think that's that's a really exciting thing that we're encouraging everyone to get on board. So it's in your hands, guys, to bring that price point down to what you want. I think it's a no-brainer. Don't say that about too many businesses. But guys, thank you very much for your time today. I'd love to have you back on actually in a few months' time and talk about a few more of those partnerships, because they genuinely sound really exciting.
Yeah, lots coming up in the autumn. Thanks, Simon. Thanks for your time. It's brilliant.
Keep wearing the merch, as you know.
I will. I'll wear it all weekend, I think, especially with the sun out. It'll my head being burnt.
I'm not sure about the combination with the ginger beard.
Well, no, it's not. It's Moroccan sunset is the actual colour for it.
Well, I've insulted the Scots, Rory. I'm not going to do the gingers as well.
No, not ginger, by the way. Okay, so I'm.
Cheers, Darren Luce. Cheers, guys. Okay, thank you very much. Speak to you all soon. Cheers.
See you later.
Thanks, Simon.